we now tell people, and I don't know if you want to go down this route of dating. Uh, so the reason why so many people have very little success when it comes to dating is because dating has shifted to the online space and you're essentially dating strangers.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, you're going online, picking through pictures, you find a girl that you think you like based off of some words in a picture, and hopefully that's her, right? And then you talk to her for an hour and you're like, oh, she seems all right. And then you go and meet her. You have no idea if this woman is schizophrenic or if she's a pleasant person. You have no idea. You have no history. You don't even know if that's her real name. Like, you know nothing about this person. There's no social proofing when it comes to meeting someone in that particular way. And so what ends up happening is you're meeting strangers, and meeting a stranger and trying to assess if something is there romantically is incredibly difficult. So you're going to have a massive failure rate, right? And then no one knows how to operate with efficiency to pick through a bunch of strangers, right? So then the selection process, the male female selection process goes to the extremes. The women reject 99% of the men are just picking every woman, right? And so it just creates a massive arena of confusion and nihilism and exhaustion when it comes to finding an appropriate spouse. The women have too many options. Guys think like, oh man, it would be great to have a ton of options. No, it's the opposite issue. You don't know what to pick from. And so the women are either overwhelmed, they pick from none, or they pray to God that they picked a decent guy. And then they finally pick a guy, and that guy is, just like smells like weed and is just like a crazy person who shows up. Then they're like, why am I part of this process? I'm going to stay single. The guys have the opposite issue. They get rejected. They get used. They're like, finally, someone picked me. They go on the date, and then that woman never calls them back. Like, it creates this nihilism, and everyone's like, what is wrong? And then someone says it's the opposite sex fault. And it's like, no, it's the situation, because I married my wife because I knew her brother. That's how we met. So all those years of going through all this stuff, online dating, there are people obviously who meet partners, like that stuff is going to happen. But if there's some sort of like success rate that someone calculates with the amount of time and effort and dates and even getting a girlfriend or boyfriend for X amount of time, and just saying how many of that resulted into marriage, the success rate of online dating, because of the format, is incredibly low. It's incredibly difficult to find someone for a long-term relationship, nevertheless marriage, and that it be a successful long-term marriage. It's incredibly small. So I think the entire process of finding a partner creates this avenue of resentment towards the opposite sex.
I agree. And as a detail that I frequently highlight, there's no leverage, meaning that you mentioned women have endless optionality. And so when you meet someone in person, you get a sense of whether or not you have chemistry with that person. Like instantly, there's some sort of click or some sort of simpatico or something like that. And you
Right.
can't establish whether that exists until you meet them in person. If you
Right.
meet someone online, because coming from the male perspective, if you meet someone online, she's talking with likely a bunch of other guys, 7 or 8 guys, right? Who knows how
Guaranteed.
many, right? Right. Yeah. And so like, if things don't work out with you, well, there's a line waiting, as opposed to we happen to meet in person in church or at a conference. Those are the only 2 places that I advocate for men to try and meet somebody, particularly if you care about your Christian faith. Likely the woman that you meet, shopping for watermelons or whatever, like in the grocery store, is probably not going to share your theological distinctives. This is a Reformed podcast. There's lots of different theological distinctions there. But, so you have to meet in church or at a conference. Probably there are very few sites online. right? But even still, like, you meet in person, it's like, oh wow, that person sounded really interesting. We had a very short exchange, 5 minutes or whatever, but I felt like there was something there. And that
Yeah.
little seed is worth more than 2 weeks of conversation on some digital platform. It just is. And I think another aspect of this also is you have probably at least two generations of people who live on their phones. They live behind their screens, through their computer or through their smartphone, and they don't know how to do face-to-face interaction. Ironic, because we're doing this remotely, but in a
Yeah.
sense, they don't know how to interact with people. And so to get out and actually go meet somebody, it's like they don't want to do that because that's hard. Like, well, welcome to Earth, right? And so this is why I think the online dating platforms are broken, is that you can't establish chemistry. The women largely have endless optionality, and men can hide. And I just think in that format, you're not going to get the best out of people. You're going to get at best, you're going to get like some sort of medium average. But out in person, you can't hide who you are.
Right.
You can't fake chemistry. And it forces you to learn how to look better, how to present yourself well, how to have a conversation, be charming, be spontaneous. And these are the things that build a good relationship. But that's hard work versus trying to meet online.